For example, let us assume it is a lake. It is a lake. Okay. Based on this lake, a lot of people will be dependent on this lake. Okay. For example, if this is a lake, there will be fishes in this lake. Okay. Other organisms in this lake, or other trees or other biological, for example, some plant species will be there. There are certain communities which depend on this fishing activity. Okay, there are certain communities which depend on other microorganisms for their livelihood. There are certain communities which depend on the genetic resources which are present in this particular wetland, or there may be other communities which depend on this lake for drinking purpose or water purpose or for agriculture purpose. Okay, you have to consider all these concerns. Then you have to formulate a policy regarding conservation. And without taking into consideration of all these stakeholders, the person who is sitting in the top chair, how can he able to conserve this wetland? Means all the people who are dependent on this wetland, so may all these persons should lose their rights on this wetland? No, isn't it? Okay, so that is actually what Ramsar Convention will says about. Okay, so it says about what is the major principle of Ramsar Convention. It talks about wise use of wetlands. What is meant by this wise use? Wise use means you have to conserve the wetland, but simultaneously the rights of the local people should be preserved. See here, means for example, the people who are dependent on this wetland for drinking water purpose. Okay, so they should not be deprived of their rights. Okay, those particular people should be allowed for drinking water from that particular lake, but at the same time simultaneously the conservation effort should be made. Okay, so exploitation should not be done. Okay, so degradation of the ecosystem, yes sir, of course it should not be done, but at the same time the rights of the local population should also be conserved and preserved, isn't it? Okay, so it is the major principle of Ramsar Convention. Actually, it is the major point which was actually tested in UPSC prelims many times. Okay, so wise use of wetland means you have to conserve the wetland, but simultaneously you have to preserve the rights of the local population on that particular wetland. Okay, you have to allow the people who are dependent on that wetland for livelihood purpose, for drinking water purpose, or for agriculture purpose, whatever it is. But those actions should be regulated in such a manner, it should not be degraded. So the activity should be regulated, that the rights of the local people should be preserved, at the same time the wetland should be conserved. Okay, and that conservation should not be by the person who is sitting in the chair at the center level. That conservation effort should be done by the people who are dependent on those wetlands for the name. For example, in this regard, the fisherman or the localities who are drawing water from this particular lake, or the particular farmers who are doing agriculture based on this particular wetland. Okay, that conservation effort should be done by these people. Okay, these local communities have to be entrusted those provisions, and they will be given certain rights to conserve these particular wetlands. Okay, so this is called as wise use of wetlands. Wise use of wetlands. Okay, so it is the first provision. And what is the second provision? Actually, I already told you the lacunae which is present, that is the state level and the local level representatives were not allocated. So that's why in 2017 actually, okay, state wetland regulatory authority and local wetland regulatory authority were entitled. Okay, so that particular positions were created, and local communities, for example the stakeholders, for example the fishermen, the farmers, those are given some particular rights to conserve those particular wetlands. They will be, actually it is a committee approach at local level. For example, it is a committee approach. In this committee, in this local level, in this committee, there will be government officials who are experts in the wetland conservation. I mean, they may be experts from the fields of environment, they may be experts from the field of environment, soil topography and water conservation. So from all these fields, experts will be taken, and at the same time the local communities, maybe particular tribal communities chief, or maybe particular farmer communities chief, or particular fisherman community chief, even they also be given priority in this committee. Okay, all these people's provisions, all these people's I mean to say their concerns regarding these wetlands all will be taken into consideration, and based on those concerns a policy will be formulated, and based on this policy the conservation will be made. Okay, so right now it was made an committee approach, and all the stakeholders who are dependent on this particular wetland, all their concerns will be taken into consideration. Okay, and moreover in this regard, actually in 2010 rules, actually there is no comprehensive clarity. I mean, there is no clarity which activities are allowed in this wetland, which activities are not allowed in this wetland, and for example, if certain activities are allowed, either the permission has to be taken. So this type of clarity was not mentioned in 2010 rules actually, but all those apprehensions and the misnomers were got deleted, and a clarity was made in 2017. So it made a list what actual activities will be allowed in this particular wetland and what activities will not be allowed, and if a certain activity is allowed, from whom the permission has to be taken. So everything were clearly mentioned in this particular rules. Okay, so recently what are the government initiatives regarding wetland conservation? So already we have seen the 2010 and 2017 wetland conservation and management rules. Okay, apart from those 2010 and 2017 rules, what are the other initiatives taken by the government? So Government of India has launched a portal called as Wetlands of India portal, and this portal provides the entire comprehensive information regarding wetlands, how many wetlands are present in India, and what is the status of degradation, and what are the local communities which are dependent on this particular wetland. So everything will be detailedly mentioned in this particular portal. So only this portal was specifically allocated regarding the information of the wetlands. Okay, and the next one was regarding wetlands. So National Wetland Decadal Change Atlas, and Atlas was released by Government of India. So what it actually provides is, so there will be a lot of changes actually. Yes, there will be a lot of changes in the wetlands because of different climatic issues and whatever may be. Okay, so if this particular atlas shows or highlights the changes which are taking place in the wetlands over the past decades. Okay, so what type of ecological changes are taking place in this particular wetland over the years, over the past decades, the entire information will be provided in this particular atlas, so that based on the changes the government can take appropriate initiatives for the conservation of the wetlands. And the next one was Center for Wetland Conservation and Management. It is actually the center, we can typically call it as a scientific center. Okay, so this center specifically perform the scientific research work, and it can able to understand that actually what are the knowledge gaps which are prevailing in understanding the wetland management. So if there are any knowledge gaps, any scientific basis was lacking, the entire information will be provided by this center, and it will be implemented by the government in the form of policies. Next one, Wetland Rejuvenation Program. Okay, so I think it was launched in 2020. Okay, so in this program actually 500 wetlands will be rejuvenated. Okay, it was I think so launched in 2020. And the next one was integration with river basin management. We already know, in order to clear the river water pollution, specifically for Ganga, okay, we are having the Namami Gange program. Okay, in this Namami Gange program, actually the wetland management and conservation is an integral part of this program. Means then this program not only cleans the river water Ganga, it not only ensure the local population rights, it not only ensure the resources and everything. Okay, it also integrate the wetland conservation and management in this particular Namami Gange program. Okay, so in the process of cleaning rivers, okay, so the integration was these lakes, ponds and everything, whatever it is, all those wetlands will also be conserved and cleaned, and also they will be preserved. Okay, and this Amrit Dharohar scheme, it was actually launched in 2023-24 budget. Okay, it was majorly 3-year initiative. It was for 3 years actually. In this scheme specifically, the wetland conservation will be taken place. Okay, the wetland conservation will be taken place regarding, see here, I already sent you the PDF. Okay, so it is majorly for optimizing wetland conservation. It is specifically for optimizing wetland conservation. What is meant by this optimizing wetland conservation? So optimizing wetland conservation means, I already told you here the conservation, we have to conserve the wetland, we have to draw the ecological services from it. Okay, we have to draw the ecological services from the wetland. For example, we may draw drinking water, okay, we may draw some biodiversity, maybe for food purpose, okay, so for pharmaceutical industry, whatever it is, we are drawing from ecological services from this particular wetland. Okay, so this particular scheme is main intention is to optimize these things. Okay, to what extent the wetland will be conserved, and to what extent the local will be given the rights to get benefit out of this ecological services. They will optimize to what extent conservation will be taken place, and to what extent the people can draw ecological services from it. Okay, so I had just given a comprehensive idea, because these are again already detailedly discussed in the respective classes regarding what is wetland and what is the definition according to Ramsar Convention and everything. Okay, you might be remembered. So first of all, if a wetland conservation topic was given in the mains, so first of all you have to understand what is a wetland, what is the significance, and how much it is contributing for the welfare of the people, and what are the international conventions which are taken for the conservation of the wetlands, and what are the Indian efforts, what are the any legislative framework had been formulated for the conservation of wetlands in India, and any schemes recently have been launched for the conservation of wetlands. So everything has to be taken care of, I think so, holistically in a short span of 15 to 20 minutes. Everything we have covered, and the rules of 2010-17 and Ramsar Convention, and what are the exact provisions, everything was already discussed detail in the class. It was just a recap class. Okay, so I think so you have already understood the entire. Oh yeah, yes, okay. So first, yes, these are also called as kidneys of landscape. Yes, and these are also called as liquid assets. Yes, you can write all these in significance of wetlands, and these are also called as kidneys of landscape, liquid assets. Why these are called as kidneys of landscape? Because they filter the pollution which is coming from the upstream. Okay, a lot of pollution will be accumulated in the upstream, and because of this water flow, so actually the water flow, okay, the water stream will bring down all the waste, and they will accumulate in this wetland, because it is the actual depression which is present on the land. Okay, and for example mangrove, okay, so they will degrade the metals, okay, the heavy metals which are present in water, all these get this negative impact will be drawn or will be cleared by the mangroves. Okay, we already discussed about it, so that's why they are all called as kidneys of landscape. They will clear the pollution, okay, which is coming from the land, and moreover they are also called as liquid assets. So what is meant by asset? An asset means any valuable thing which can be easily converted into money. So how can we convert wetlands into money? For example, I found any fish in the wetland, okay, so I can catch the fish and I can sell it in the market, and I can get money out of this. Yes, so I can easily generate money by drawing ecological services from this particular wetland. So that's why it is called as liquid assets. Okay, you can write, yes sir, so what I have told, all these particular significance, you can write all these things. So that is about wetland conservation. Yes.